안녕하세요, 여러분. 노래방 프라의 프란체스카입니다. 만나서 반갑습니다. 네, 여러분들 오랜만이었죠? 2년 동안 영상 업로드 못했습니다. 여러분들 죄송합니다. So sorry, guys. I was not able to upload for about 2 years, but now I'm back and I'm planning to upload constantly. In these 2 years, I've been abroad. I've had a lot of life experiences, and now I'm back into my house and I'm ready to share them with you. A new me. I hope you can see that from my last video. Maybe I have changed quite a bit, or maybe not. I'll let you be the judge of that. I'm so sorry. I'm not confident in my Korean anymore. I forgot a lot of that. In these 2 years, I haven't been able to practice it as much. So this video will be in English. I'm not sure if I will be able to upload Korean subtitles as well, but I'll try my best. So this video is comparing living in Korea versus living in Japan. And what makes me qualified to talk about that? Well, first of all, I lived in Korea for about 7 years. So I think that makes me pretty qualified. And also, I lived in Japan for about 1 year. So I have a little bit of perspective and insight into both worlds. Um, so just bear in mind, this is just my opinion. Some of the things I will say, I think they are pretty much facts. And some other things will be filtered by my own bias and my own experiences. So they might not apply to you, they might not be true for you, but that's okay. We are all different. We all have different opinions. I hope that if you have a different opinions, you can just politely express it in the comment section. I'll be happy to read it and have um, a peaceful conversation, a peaceful exchange of opinions. I'm really happy if you write anything down below. If you have any questions for me about any topic, if you would like to know my insight about any topic, please drop it down below. And now, with the disclaimer out of the way, let's just get right into it. So, first of all, the number one thing that is different between both countries is rules. And what do I mean by that? Well, Japan, if you go as a tourist, it's such an amazing country, right? Everybody loves Japan. They say it's so peaceful, it's beautiful, you have culture and modern life, it's so clean and it's safe and yada yada yada, blah 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 blah. But the reason why many people like Japan so much is because actually it's a country that has many many rules that if you choose to live there, not you don't visit just as a tourist for a couple of weeks, but if you really want to live there um, and become part of that society, then you have to follow quite a number of rules, and it can be very strict. Sometimes, in my opinion, rules don't follow common sense, so it was very difficult for me to accept, especially as an artist. My dream is to be an artist, and the reason why I went to Japan is because I wanted to be a singer there, but I felt the environment was very very limiting for me, especially in Tokyo. Is a country which is very very strict, especially nowadays. Tokyo and Japan as a whole has a very big problem with tourists. There's so many tourists coming, many of them causing like some disruptions, especially YouTubers and whatnot, especially after COVID. And Japan is having a little bit like is in a little bit of a tough spot about how to manage this whole situation of tourism. So yeah, but I did not feel so constricted in Korea. It felt much more of like a free society. I did not feel bound by so many rules, and I will give you some examples. Like as I said, I'm an artist and I went there because I wanted to sing, but I was not free to busk, for instance, on the streets. Japan has so many regulations, especially for what concerns like traffic and gathering of people. They don't like people, massing in one place, and they are afraid that if many people gather in one place, you know, regulating the traffic and preventing accidents might be quite tricky. And yeah, that can be true, but buskers are all around the world. So technically, busking is illegal in Japan, but many Japanese artists, because they are Japanese anyway, you know what can they risk? Um, they don't really risk anything, but as a foreigner, whatever wrong you do or mistake you do, you might have troubles with immigration, right? So you're kind of like reluctant or detained from doing anything because you're so afraid, of losing your place there. So many, as I was saying, many Japanese people, they busk, and the police will come and just say, please stop or move away. It really depends. Like, there are many rules, but many things in Japan, I found out, it depends on who's checking, like, that you respect the rule. And sometimes you might be lucky, and some policeman or some, person in charge might, be more lenient. So like, respecting rules in Japan, in my opinion, is very much about who you have in front of you that's enforcing it, but that's another story. But yeah, Japanese people, just like, at their own risk, they do it, and if they are caught, they're just told to stop. But as a foreigner, it's just more complex. I tried a busking myself, and when I got stopped every time, because especially nowadays, there's a lot of stuff going on in Japan, especially with the Japan First movement, conservative movement. They are being very afraid of foreigners coming, a little bit xenophobic and stuff. So, like, as soon as you do something which is not acceptable, they will stop you right from the get-go, because they don't want other foreigners to follow suit. um yeah, they think that you will become that model of foreigner for other bad foreigners, as if singing about love songs is something bad. But yeah, so yeah, I got stopped, and I got asked my documents and my visa stuff, and it's just not pleasant, this whole thing. As I went If I went as a tourist, maybe I would have been a little bit like less afraid of incurring into trouble, because, like, anyway, I'm leaving the country. But if since I want to live there, I don't want to cause, like, I don't want my visa to be taken, right? And then I found there are many loopholes that Japanese themselves find to be able to sing on the streets, but that's like a whole story. you know I will not go deep into that, but I would just say there are many, many rules, but still, it depends who's enforcing them, and it depends who's the target of the rule. Because, like, I find that many Japanese themselves don't respect the rules, but that's okay because they are Japanese. But if a foreigner does the same thing, then it becomes a problem. So I'm like, okay, if we want people who come to respect the rules, maybe we should set the example. But okay, I don't want to get into controversial territory here. But yeah, just anyway, I did not feel free to express myself and to do everything that I set out to do when I went there. But I did not feel all of this in Korea, and Korea still is a very safe country, and it's a wonderful country to live in. And yeah, I just felt much more free. And I think the character of Koreans is also different, which is like, Japan is very much about living for the community, like, for the peace of the community. But Korea, I think, is, yeah, it's community kind of vibe, but it's becoming more and more individualistic in a sense, also because Korea is much more westernized than Japan. So Japan is all about considering other people's feelings, not being meiwaku, like not being bothersome to other people. uh, but Korea is, because also they have a different history. I mean, they were colonized, and they learned how to, they were colonized, and they also had dictatorships, and they learned how to express their opinions, right? Also during the Pakune era, like, Koreans stood up for their rights. They are people who stand up for their rights. But Japanese, they were colonizers, and also, like, they are not really it's not really in their character to stand up for what's right, like not what's right, but like they don't really stand up strong to say their opinion or what they think. So if there are many rules, they don't question the rules. That's what I want to say, and they just follow the rules, even though those rules don't follow common sense. And there are many examples of that, but I will not delve too deep into it, otherwise I will just make a very long video. I've already recorded this video like 54 minutes and I lost all of it. So I'm just re-recording it and I'm trying to be more concise. So the second point I want to compare about living in Japan versus living in Korea is quietness or loudness and pollution levels. So let's see which one wins in this category. Quietness or loudness, I think it really depends what you're after. So if you're a chill person who really likes to be quiet, like quiet ambient, you want to sleep at night, I would say Japan is the place for you, especially in the neighborhood areas. It can get really really quiet and at night, and actually if like even in your own house you should be quite quiet, and you can't play instruments and you can't sing, which for me again as an artist was quite a bit of a challenge. For Japanese people, there's always a place and a time for whatever you want to do. So there's like workplace, people wear a mask. Then when it's time to have fun, people go to certain places and they have another mask. And when they want to have fun or they want to sing, what do? They go to karaoke and they can sing their lungs out. But house is the place to be quiet, to rest, and also to be aware of your surroundings, of your neighbors, so you shouldn't be very loud. Also because Japan has the same issue as Korea, like the walls are very thin, so it's very easy to hear what the person next door is doing. It's not as bad as Korea, I would say. They are a little bit thicker, the walls, but still, more or less the same. So yeah, and another factor that makes Japan very quiet is also that they use electric cars. uh, yeah, almost everybody has electric cars, and that makes a huge difference, especially at night. Like even sometimes I would have cars running behind me and I would not hear them, especially if you have like if you're a person like me that listens to music or like something with their headphones. It's almost impossible to hear, and sometimes they creep behind you and it's kind of scary. But luckily they drive very safely, so they will not run over you. But sometimes it is scary because you really don't hear the cars, and at night it's very 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 quiet, especially in the neighborhoods, but also in the city. I mean, even in the most crowded areas, I would say it doesn't get as loud as it gets in Seoul. Seoul is very loud, all day, every day. Is always very lively. But Japanese people, they have more of a chill kind of living. And when work is over, it tends to be pretty chill. Sometimes, if you're a person who likes to do many activities, sometimes it can get a little bit boring because shops close early, like 9 or 10, compared to Korea, where sometimes they close at 2 a.m. So sometimes it might be hard to find activities to do. Also, clubbing, I think mostly it happens in the weekend, but I'm not sure because like I'm not really into. I'm not really like a social butterfly. Like my kind of like entertainment activities are singing or going into nature. So yeah, definitely Tokyo and Japan as a whole is very, very, very quiet, which is a problem if you're a musician like me. Yeah, you can't freely buzz because of the rules, and you can't freely sing because of the noise. So yeah, but I think Korea is much more friendly in that regard. So it's much louder. It can be a problem if you want to sleep at night. I remember it being very like um, yeah, like noisy at night, especially because like Seoul, I lived only in Seoul, but it's much more compact. So it what happens is that sometimes um, the place where people live, work, or study is the same place. But in Japan, they are always very divided. Like um, there's the city center, or like clusters where people work. Like this neighborhood is where people work. like Shinjuku is where people work. Shibuya is where people go have fun, and this place is where people go study. And then the areas around them develop in such a way that they are suburbs, like where people live, and they are very very separated. Where people live, it's a place to be quiet, um, and slow living. And then there's the city, where the fun and activities and work and stuff happens. So there's more of a divide, but in Korea I felt like the divide was not as clear cut. So it can be louder, but busking is more accepted in Korea. Actually, I'm really really curious because now I'm like such a different person. I'm not as shy as I was before, and I'm like, going for my dream. I would really love to go back to Korea, maybe Hongdae. That's where the busking happens, I think. Let me know if there's any new like place where people go busk. When I was there, I remember mostly people there, and sometimes I would see someone singing in Sadon. I don't know if you need any permit for that, but I would like to know if, what are the areas nowadays. I think also in Busan, like in Haeundae Beach, is quite of like a spot for busking, maybe. I remember seeing an artist there when I visited. I would really love to go and challenge myself and see what's the reaction, to see a pink foreigner singing. Maybe I should prepare a Korean playlist, you know, for my future. Who knows? Anyway, so yeah. And then the next point I want to talk about is the levels of pollution. I think this one, Japan definitely wins. As I said, all the cars are electric, most of the buses as well, the trains also. Well, I'm not sure about the trains, but I don't remember inhaling so much smoke, or as in other cities, that you might have, where it's so clear that you're inhaling the fumes and exhaust from the transportation. um, but yeah, Japan is very very clean, and I think also what plays a part in that is that Japan is an island, so it's geographically more isolated. There's the sea dividing between the continent and the island, and probably I think the sea, I'm not sure if there's like a scientific base to that, but I think that the sea probably cleans the air quite a bit, whereas Korea is just right next to China, below China, so it's getting all the dust and pollution from China. So at days it would get really difficult to breathe, and also I developed a lot of skin problems when I was there, like atopy. So it was really bad for me also because like I here in Italy, I live in a countryside place where pollution is practically non-existent. I live next to the sea, and actually many people from the cities move here because doctors actually recommend that, because moving here, the air is so clean, and the sea breeze is so nice that it's actually curing asthma and all these kind of you know um, respiratory ailments. Yeah, so Japan definitely is the place to um, breathe cleaner air, for sure, hands down. I talked a little bit about trains and buses I mentioned, so let's talk about the transportation system. Who do you think is gonna be the winner on this one? I think Korea will have to take the prize for this one, and I'll give you the reason. So moving around in Korea is just so comfortable, especially in Seoul. Like you really don't need to have like a car or your own transportation, because like the subway, just the subway will take you mostly anywhere, and then the buses as well are really well organized. And the best thing about the transportation is that is one system, it's one company, is the Seoul metropolitan government is managing the subway or the transportation system, right? So it makes it cheap and easy to move around, especially when you're transferring, because being one company, when you have to move between lines, like I have to change between line 5 to line 1, I can just change the floors. I don't need to get out of the station and find another station, which is what happens in Japan, because in Tokyo, all the companies are private companies, and they are all, so it means that they are all managed by different uh, different companies. And so you have Tokyo Metro, Toei Line, Yamanote Line, and whatnot. So what happens is that when you have to transfer, you have to get out of the station and find the other entrance for the other company's entrance, like. And sometimes it takes, especially around Shinjuku. Shinjuku Sanchome was a nightmare for me when I had to transfer from the Marunouchi line, is the Tokyo Metro, to another line, I don't remember now, to go to Shibuya. It was a nightmare. Like, it took around 20 minutes of walking to transfer. And okay, 20 minutes of walking is not much, but imagine when you're like in the rush hour, you're going to work or you're going to school, those 20 minutes make the difference. And sometimes you're just tired, if you've had a long day, or whatever. It should be convenient to change, convenient and fast. And also, there's not many escalators and not many elevators. It's very, very, it's like Tokyo. It's the Tokyo subway, I would say, is not very friendly to how do you say, disabled people. I don't know if that's the politically correct word. I'm sorry, I'm not American, so I don't know what's the word for it now. Even for people just moving with luggages, it's such a feat to find elevators. Really, it's so hard. And not sometimes they are out of order, which is like, it's beyond me. How can you, like, also in Shinjuku station, which is a central station, like, how can you, like, sometimes yeah, it was just so difficult to move around with the luggage. Just with that, I can't imagine people who have more serious troubles than I did. It's just really not friendly. There should be elevators anywhere on every platform, but sometimes they don't have elevators on every platform. You have to find the right exit, move to it's just so complicated to describe. Maybe someone else can do it better than I can, but it's just not disabled people friendly. Okay, that's all there is to it. Japan, please improve on that, be more accessible to everyone. Whereas Korea, I did not pay much attention to that, to be honest, when I was living there, but I do remember there were much more, many more elevators for sure. Transferring is not convenient, and also it's very expensive, because when you're transferring to another company, you're paying double the fee. So in Seoul, in Korea, when you're transferring, it's all the same company, right? The Seoul Metropolitan Company. So you just change the floor and you don't exit the station. But when you're transferring in Japan, you pay the fee for the first company, then you had to get out. So you tap on, tap off, you pay that fee, around $2, and then you transfer. So you have to walk 20 minutes or whatever. If you're lucky, maybe then the other company is just 5 minutes away, but the Tokyo stations are quite big. You have to walk a lot. There's lots of stores also inside of the stations, because the walking is really long. And then you have to get inside of the gate of the new company, so you pay again for the fee. And let's say that maybe after you got out, you're going to work or to school, maybe you have another small small part of the journey to do on bus. You have to pay another fee for the bus, and also for the bus is the same. They're all different companies, and even if it's the same company, you have to pay the fee again, because it's just considered another transportation on top of what you have taken. But when I was in Seoul, when you transfer to a bus, you just pay like a little bit of a difference. If you're within like a 30 minutes time frame, you just pay a little bit of a difference, and that's so much cooler, right? And saves money, and yeah, it makes sense. And another thing is that you cannot pay with your debit card or credit card for transportation. So that leads me to the next point about cash and cashless. So let me ask you this question. Do you prefer to use cash or card? I think it's pretty obvious, right? Who likes to use cash? I mean, card is so much more convenient, and especially, tapping your phone or your smartwatch, whatever you're using for your payments. It's just much faster, hassle free, and I think it's also better for the cashier, because they don't have to give you change, or they don't have to handle money or whatever. Many places here in Italy still many people just calculate the change by themselves, and they give it to you. I just can't math. I can't do that. I need a machine to tell me how much to give. I don't want to make mistakes with money. It's a big responsibility. So if anybody taps and pays by card, for me it's just so much more comfortable. I don't have to input any amount. They just tap their phone, the machine does everything, and all good. But Japan pretty much still runs on cash, and I was really surprised because even after COVID in Italy, which is not like one of the most advanced countries, like, I mean, it's advanced, but it's not like China or Korea, where it's also technological. But actually, in Italy, it's pretty good right now. And also, I lived in Australia for a working holiday, and everything is pretty much cashless there. And also, here in Italy, more and more payments are becoming cashless. Even at the hospital, um, yeah, it's becoming much, much more convenient, much more comfortable. But in Japan, oh, no, 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 no. So especially for transportation, the only way to recharge your card is by cash. So you need to buy the Suica or the Pasmo card, the official transportation cards, which have their own chips, and then you can recharge them only with cash. But when I was in Australia, you could comfortably pay. So they had their own native transportation cards if you wanted, but you could also pay with your bank card, which was amazing. I mean, even with your, like, as long as it's a Visa or Mastercard, you can use that card to pay for transportation, which is it's so good. I mean, you don't need to pay for a ticket in advance. You can just tap on, tap off, and it's done. Even I was living in Brisbane, even when I was taking the ferry, I just tap on, and yeah, you pay so fast, so quick, so good. I mean, no worries. In Korea, you need a transportation card, but you can charge it at the convenience store, and you can, as far as I know, you can charge it using your bank card, right? Guys, please let me know. Am I remembering correct? I remember that if you go to the convenience store, you can just, like, pay with the card and charge um your, what is that, T-money. Is it still called T-money? I'm not sure. I left Korea like 4 years ago, and I'm not sure about the updates. And some Koreans, they can connect their bank card and make it like as a transportation card, so they can deduct from their bank account. But that's only for Koreans. Like, you need a special thing with your bank. They will give you a card that is also like um, habilitated for transportation use. But you can't, unless they've changed that now, you can't pay with your Visa or Mastercard from any country. But still, definitely Korea wins on that. You can pretty much pay anything with card, unless you go to like a traditional markets, which is like, I think in any country, if you go to a traditional market, you just, you make your transactions with cash. So yeah, but Japan, oh no, pretty much cash. And also, even the stores that do tell you that you can pay with card, you have to be careful, because not many have the contactless chip. So you have to physically insert the card. It happened to me many times at the supermarket, but even Daiso, some Daisos or some 100 yen shops, I wanted to tap my phone because I did not physically have the card. And they don't tell you beforehand. Like, you find out only when you're actually paying for your stuff, which is such a bummer. I mean, just write it at the how can I say, at the front door of the shop, even though I'm sure there will be people who don't read that. But yeah, I had to, I could not pay because they said, oh, I'm sorry, you can only insert the card. And even for like sometimes very small transactions, like, I kid you not, less than $5, I had to insert my pin, which I thought it was funny. like like, I don't know, like in Italy, if it's below $20, you can just tap and they don't ask you any pin. If it's like over $50, then you have to insert the pin. In Australia, is something similar to that. In Korea, I don't remember, to be honest. I think Also in Korea, there was a lot of like inserting card and not much contactless. I do remember that. Please let me know if that has changed. Do you guys do more contactless payments? I'm really curious about that. I'm pretty sure now you do because everybody uses their phone to pay. So I'm sure you can now tap in Korea as well. But in Japan, no. In convenience stores, you can. Every convenience stores, you can tap, no problem, with your phone. But other stores, good luck with that, mate. Okay, we're almost there, guys. Thank you for bearing with me. If you're liking the video so far, please do consider subscribing. It will really make me happy. Also, check out my shorts. I post some singing videos. Not really, I need to update my singing videos as well. I'm mostly singing in English these days. But my channel is more like Asia related, so I'm not sure if those videos would do well, but please, and any check them out. I have many shorts about my personal life transformations as well, the older ones. And yeah, any questions you have for me, leave them in the comments below. If you would like me to talk about any topic in particular, please leave a recommendation or like leave some suggestion, and I'll take that into consideration. And I will make a video about that. So yeah, last, it's about technology. So okay, you guys, did you think Japan is very technological, one of the most futuristic countries in the world? Now, I would like to ask you, what's another reason why you want to visit Japan? It's because of the temples, the culture, and the history, right? Yeah. Whereas, what do you think about when, like, you're thinking about Korea? Are you thinking about, like, is the first thing that comes to mind Hanbok, or some palace or some historical place? I'm pretty sure when you think about Korea, you're thinking about, like, K-pop, um, internet, technology, soft power, something related to soft power, music. Uh, but I think that for Japan, people mostly associated with the beautiful landscapes, history, geishas, and all this cultural stuff, right? Am I correct or not? So what I want, where I want to go with that is that many people actually think that Japan is this ultra technological country. Like they think about animes, Akihabara, and this kind of like techno futuristic looking places. I don't know, video games or whatnot. But I do think that Japan mostly. I mean, how can I phrase it? uh it's not an old country for sure, but Japan, I think, experienced, there are people who can delve into the history much better than I can do, and there are wonderful people who talk about Japanese culture and history in depth in their culture. But like, Japan experienced their boom in the 80s, right before the economic crisis of the 90s. Yeah, Japan was advanced. Japan was being more technologically advanced than other cultures. No, no, sorry. Japan was being more technologically advanced than other countries. Uh, but I would say, that's my opinion, they have not gone too much far from that, right? They are still using fax. They are still using a lot of paper. Internet is actually not that fast and not ubiquitous. It's very hard to find it anywhere. Just in Australia, you could find internet on trains and buses. In Japan, no way. Like, there's not even like Wi-Fi signal on the train. In Korea, you can have Wi-Fi on the train. If you have a Korean SIM card, then you can access that's what I remember. I don't know if it has changed, but in Australia, on the trains and buses, anybody, at least in Brisbane, anybody could use the Wi-Fi of the train or bus in question. You didn't need a password or whatever. It was public, and you could pretty much find public Wi-Fi even in the supermarkets. It was very accessible, I would say. In Italy, it's not that accessible. It's not, yeah, especially where I live in the countryside, but that's another story. And In Japan, same thing. It's like you can only get good Wi-Fi. Let's say good. If you go to a coffee shop, you pay for your order, then they will give you the password for it, or you can find the password by the cashier. But on the streets, it's also difficult to pick up Wi-Fi. Um, you can pick up Wi-Fi of convenience stores, McDonald's or Starbucks, but the signal is meh, so and so. Especially McDonald's, it sucks. The McDonald's in Japan is like, it has like a 1 hour um, time limit, and then it's gonna like freeze for like 15 minutes until you can reconnect. It's very slow. It's just a pain in the ass. Starbucks was better, but again, after some time, you had to reconnect it, so it was not the best experience, to be honest. And internet was very, very expensive. Even the phone plans were very expensive. In Korea, the phone plans were expensive as well, but you did not really need like a lot of data on your phone, because you could like find internet anywhere. you know so yeah, that was the difference. Korea, I found it to be much more technological. Japan is technological only for certain things, like, for toilets or stuff that helps you in daily life. Yeah, it's quite technological. But for other things, it's just they are stuck in their, that's what I think. They are just stuck in their old ways, and they just don't want to move on from that. I don't know why, but sometimes I found Japanese to be quite stubborn or reluctant to change, and I could not really find a reason for that. If something can make your life easier, why not change? There was a lot of paperwork also, which I found so annoying. And uh, yeah, it's just why. In Korea, you could get anything done so much faster online. Even applications from the immigration office or anything, you could just easily do it online. So that would save paper time for everybody, and it's much easier to deal with, because like you can translate it now with your phone and whatnot. So yeah, and also internet in Korea is like top notch, so fast. Nothing to say about that. So yeah, that's my stance on the technological part. An extra bonus point of living in Korea versus living in Japan is the language. I should have talked about it maybe at the beginning. So in Korea, it is so much easier to live just by knowing English. Everybody pretty much understands a little bit of English, especially the new generations. At the immigration office, no problem. You can always find an officer that speaks English. At the bank, there's always gonna be someone who speaks English. And I think it has to do with the history of the country, right? There are still American bases in Korea. Like, you can still very much feel the American influence in Korea, and Koreans still look up to America, like, the American dream, and, going to America, you can be whoever you want to be or whatever. Like in Korea, if you can speak English fluently, you're like, oh wow, so cool. So yeah, there's still this kind of fascination. Let's call it fascination, even though I've watched some videos recently that actually tell me that the perspective is changing in Korea as well. Yeah, Korea much more English friendly. Also, everywhere you go, the signs are in English, Korean. On the subway, English, Korean, Japanese, Chinese. There's no way you can get lost. Of course, we're talking about Seoul. Busan probably is gonna be similar. But yeah, very friendly in that regard. Especially if you're visiting a country, I wouldn't expect you, if you visit my country, I wouldn't expect you to speak Italian, right? You're just a tourist here. And I think now we live in such a globalized era that it's kind of like, unless you come from a country where you don't have the possibility of having education, but still, I mean, everybody has internet or TikTok. I think everybody knows the basics of English, right? The numbers, hello, thank you. So, but still, in Japan, it's very, very hard to get by if you don't know Japanese. It's very hard. And I don't know why the Japanese people just don't want to open up to that. As I said, they are so stubborn when it comes to this. And I think, especially now when the yen is so weak, you should open up to foreigners more. I know there are some people who are being disruptive, and that's a whole other art, another topic, which is causing a lot of trouble in Japan nowadays. But not everyone is like that, and you have to differentiate between tourists. There are those who appreciate and come to experience your culture, and there are those dumbass assholes that like just come to make stupid videos, but that's not the majority. And um, yeah, I don't know why. And I think it's again something to do with the history. And still, Japanese, I feel like they don't feel the need that they have to learn English. They are not an island. They've been, until now, they've been like kind of self-sufficient enough um, not to afford having to learn English. You know, they did not have any use for it, and there's no like as many American bases as there are in Korea. So yeah, yeah, it's a very tricky and very long topic to talk about. Maybe I should do another video. But also, Japanese rely very much on like translation machines and new technologies, or like have these kind of cute small translators that they use to translate live, and they don't see the need to speak English because they can rely on those machines. But for me, I think like one-to-one, face-to-face communication between human beings is priceless. And if I go to a country where I'm like, I don't know anything, and I like sometimes I can feel scared, or like, just out of my comfort zone, it would be so nice to have someone that just comes and say hello. Like it just opens up the world to you, right? But that's just my opinion. Okay, guys. So even the light is, I have a light there which is like flickering and just like abandoning me. So I will just stop here. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please do leave a like and subscribe, and let me know if you want to know, if you want to have any other content like this, if there's anything that you would like to know from me, my opinion. And yeah, I'm waiting for you guys. Thank you so much. See you. Bye.